Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. This is a gothic horror comprised of 432 pages. It was published by Inkshares in the year 2017. I did listen to Kill Creek through my Audible app. It is comprised of 15 hours and 46 minutes and narrated by Bernard Sotaro Clark. It moves very well, the narration is spot on, and there is a nice distinction of various characters, so you are able to quickly move between the characters without any confusion. Our setting begins in a Kansas countryside and an explanation of the Finch house as well as the Finch sisters. So we do start with a bit of the past and kind of an introduction as to the setting that is Kill Creek Manor. For years, the home has been abandoned. It has now become overgrown, and it is empty as it cannot seem to keep inhabitants for a long period of time. We are then quickly taken from the past into the present into a classroom setting of Professor Sam McGarver. We are given a setting of what appears to be a very unique creative writing class where we start to feel some pop culture references. Typically, pop culture references do not work for me in a novel because they take away from the story that is to be told. In this particular instance, Scott Thomas got it spot on. These pop culture references allude to various points in horror history that really do set an ambiance for the setting of Kill Creek in addition to our characters, and they make them more relatable and the story overall more enjoyable. We assume Sam McGarver is simply just a professor. We quickly come to find out that he is not only a professor going through some personal changes in his life, but he is also a best-selling horror author. It is these personal endeavors that he is facing that allude us to the meat and potatoes of the story, where Sam is invited to spend Halloween night in one of the country's most infamous haunted houses. That is the Finch house. He reluctantly agrees to do so based on the simple fact that what does he really have to lose? However, what you might deem as something very predictable, because let's be honest, if you are a lover of the macabre, a follower of horror films, quickly your memory data bank starts to go back to various other settings where we've seen this before. Haunted house, Halloween, filming. Come on, even the basis of a Halloween film was on this narrative. But it's not quite like that. And so once again, Scott Thomas takes us on a turn that surprisingly works very well. We learn that Sam McGarver is not the only author that will be invited by Sam Wainwright. Now Sam Wainwright is in essence creating a publicity stunt that he needs to kind of refresh his podcast. So in an effort to connect with his audience and revive the podcast, he invites not only McGarver but 3 other authors or masters of the macabre, to include Daniel Slaughter, T.C. Moore, who is a badass female, and Sebastian Cole. Now Sebastian Cole gives all the feels of a dashing Sean Connery. That is exactly who I envisioned the entire time I was listening to the narration. We have these 4 authors that come together in what begins as a publicity stunt to save Wainwright and his show, and it soon becomes a descriptive and understanding as to who these authors are, what their backstories are, and how they are perfect pieces together to survive a night in the Finch house. There is something about letting another person lead you into darkness that is both unbearably terrifying and exquisitely thrilling. Sam Wainwright. And that really is the basis of the thrilling excitement that leads you through this terrifying adventure that is Kill Creek. There was also another explanation within the pages. Horror leads to sin. Sin gives way to temptation. Temptation is the #1 weapon of the devil. Play that in reverse and you've got a guaranteed bestseller. This book is just full of those amazing one-line statements by these unforgettable characters. I'll have to say the story definitely carries itself. I am typically not a fan, however, of the ending of many Gothic horrors. For me, both movies and books tend to fall short. This book is no exception. With the ending, although I did gasp, it was a surprise. It just kind of fell flat for me. It didn't leave me with spine-tingling chills. Does that mean it took away from the story? Absolutely not. This story was riveting, it was exciting, and it was so well paced. These are characters that inevitably you will think back to, and a writing style that is absolutely remarkable. Kill Creek was shortlisted for the 2017 Bram Stoker Award for Superior Achievement in a First Novel. It was also the winner of the American Library Association's Horror Book for 2017. And those are two honors I can absolutely see this book getting. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars, which for me and Gothic horror is fairly typical if all the other points were spot on. This exceeded. Hats off to Scott Thomas. And you've got to go find yourself a copy of the legacy that is Kill Creek.